What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're doing a complete deep dive on one of the few bright spots in what has rather been an abysmal 2021 MLB season for the New York Mets, none other than, yes, Javy Baez. And with Baez being an upcoming free agent in this year's offseason, the question now lies, should the New York Mets in fact re-sign Baez to a new contract? Should Baez walk? What is Baez's interest, if at all, to stay with the Mets? And how has he performed with the Mets to this point? That's what I'll be breaking down in today's video. So as always, make sure you stay all the way till the end of the vid for all the deets and all my thoughts on Javy Baez and his future, everything there is to know here on if this is actually realistic, unrealistic, and truly what is the best route for both Baez and the Mets going forward. And if you guys end up enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you so much for the continued support, guys. It's always appreciated. But enough of me talking, let's jump right into today's video. Now in his 8th MLB season, the 28-year-old infielder Javy Baez has had a very stereotypical Javy Baez season, racking up over 30 bombs and north of 90 RBIs, splitting time with both the Chicago Cubs and the New York Mets in 2021. Nicknamed El Mago, given his magician-like plays on the infield and on the base pass, Baez has been known as one of the most entertaining and electrifying players in all of baseball, and for good reason. And since his arrival to Queens at the 2021 MLB trade deadline, Baez has immediately made his presence known, far greater than what his seasonal direction would have indicated during his time in Chicago. Without looking further into the numbers, it's easy to look at Baez's production not just in the 2021 season, but throughout his career and think that, wow, this is a great offensive talent for sure, can be huge on the defensive side of the ball with a great glove, but still has a terrible plate approach in which he swings and misses at everything, has led the league in strikeouts, and overall is not someone that you want to throw easily upwards of 150 north of $200 million on a new deal for. I understand that argument completely, but when you deep dive the numbers here, you truly see the drastic splits during his time with the Mets in just over a 40-game campaign at this point versus the 90-plus games he spent in Chicago, and boy oh boy are they something special, some of the best of his career, might I add. And as you can see, Javy Baez's numbers with the Mets have been nothing short of magical, El Mago-esque, if you will, when it comes to his time in Queens, with an average over 300, which in comparison to his 248 average in 90 games with the Cubs is truly night and day, right around 150 plus points higher. The on-base percentage almost 100 higher at 380 with the Mets, career high for him at this point. Same thing with his average versus the on-base. Slugging 484 versus 554 in favor with the Mets. 9 home runs, 22 bombs versus 22 bombs, and 65 RBIs in 90 games with the Cubs. It's safe to say that El Mago has had the biggest impact of a trade deadline acquisition for the Mets since a guy like Yoenis Cespedes back in 2015. And when you look further at the numbers, what's most important here is strikeouts and walks and the percentages. Javy Baez is having a career year during his time with the Mets at a 7.2% his walk rate at 12 walks in 42 games versus only 15 walks. So talk about a difference in plate approach. You have to wonder if Francisco Lindor has been a drastic help when it comes to this as well. His good friend, if you guys don't know, at only 4.2%, strikeouts at 131, leading the league to that point in 91 games this year at 36.3% with the Cubs, to only 46 at 27.7%. Again, some of the best numbers of his career. OPS plus at 151, WRC plus at 152, F4 at 1.8, which is nothing drastic, but especially the OPS plus and WRC plus are truly spectacular for the Mets and for Baez going forward. And now for the most important part when it comes to negotiations, folks. This is a two-way street, not a one-way. So different than, say, trading for a guy, which he has no say in where he could be dealt based on it, not a no-move clause or a no-trade clause. When it comes to free agency, you have to reach both sides here. And the Mets, as much as they may want to re-sign Baez, if he doesn't want to stay in Queens for one reason or another, he's not going to come, even if they throw the bag at him. As long as other teams throw similar contracts, he'll go elsewhere. So what is Baez's incentive here? How much does he actually want to come back to the Mets, if at all? Is it possible? Well, here we have comments in an article recently through NBC Sports Chicago that will make you believe, yes, he does in fact want to stay in Queens for more reasons than one. And of course, guys, please make sure to check out the piece in the description down below for the source. But there are 3 quotes here that really stood out to me on Baez and his future with the Mets, starting off with this one being that, yes, I think me and Lindor are closer than KB and Rizzo, that being Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo with the Cubs. Baez said, it's a really special thing here. I would love to stay here and play with them. Well, bam, of course, that Francisco Lindor factor is a heavy driving force. And it's not a surprise to me. It might be to you, but as we know, as we discussed on the channel in a previous video before Baez was even traded the Mets, talking about the connection Remember, Baez was on a radio show, a Spanish radio show, shortly before being traded, the week before or so, saying how if he were to hit free agency, this is when he was still a Chicago Cub earlier this year, he would want to go to the Mets to play with Francisco Lindor, and that's his only exception of playing second base, which is not his main position. His main, of course, is shortstop, but knowing that he has Lindor at short would be more than happy for him. So that is obviously intriguing to see. I'm not surprised by this again, but hearing him reaffirm his connection with Lindor, and that's stronger than it's ever been with anyone else during his time in the Chicago Cubs organization, is definitely a huge stepping stone again in the positive route for the Mets trying to get the re-signing process done versus him, say, wanting to walk. Now here's another quote that I found interesting, which says the following, and I quote, "This team wants to win as bad as we did in 2016, referring to the 2016 Chicago Cubs that won the World Series. He said, "I promise you they're going to win. They're going to win soon, whether I'm here or I'm not." And that's obviously important to see as well, because Baez knows the winning culture, the culture overall that's being built in Queens is something special. And even with all the craziness that has happened with the Mets, the first year of ownership under Steve Cohen, he's aware that this team is on the right direction, the path to success, and they're going to succeed with or without him. And he would obviously like to be part of a winning culture, and that's what the Mets are going to have going forward. Whether you like it or not, Mets fans, that is going to be a fact, I promise you. Now getting on to this third line here, he said Lindor's even been lobbying the big guy to keep his friend. And if you don't know who the big guy is, this is referring to Steve Cohen. As we know, Lindor went out to dinner shortly before he was extended to that 10-year, $341 million contract, being the highest paid shortstop in all of baseball. He has a great connection with Steve Cohen as it is. And obviously, when the Mets traded for a guy like Baez, they gave up a decent prospect in Pete Armstrong, who was ranked 6th in their organization at the time through Joe DeMayo S&Y, I believe. And if the Mets are going to throw away a prospect like that for a rental, you best believe they already have ideas on wanting to bring him back. And with Baez's willingness here that we've seen reported now as the season reaches a close at the time of recording this, let me just say that, yes, I do believe that there's a strong chance these two are going to come together and sign a new deal. Now, whether that's going to be a 5, 6, 7, 8-year deal, I'm not sure. We will find out. We'll be breaking that down on the channel as those details come out. But no less, Mets fans, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about Javy Baez and the current status with the Mets? Would you like to see the Mets re-sign him? Do you think it's likely? The way that I honestly do, and I will stand by that until I'm proven otherwise. Or do you think that Baez is better suited to hit the free agent market and the Mets go after other names that are out there? Because yes, I'm aware there's a lot of big name infielders set to hit the free agent market, of course. Let me know it all in the comments, guys. And if you ended up enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, again, please do not hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you so much for the continued support, guys. More individual content when it comes to videos, more live streams coming, heading in towards the end of the season, and in the off season, we'll be having so many things going on. I definitely want you guys to be a part of it if you're enjoying this Mets community and what we have grown at this point, and so much more. So again, thank you so much again, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, let's go Mets, baby.